Welcome, Rajan, and congratulations on Sachin's deeper involvement with Jet Synthesis and the $2 million investment. We couldn't have had a better time to announce that and put that as a context to what we're going to discuss about the gaming industry and Jet Synthesis. So let me start by asking you, Rajan, Jet Synthesis has a strong foothold in gaming, and you are engaged in various partnerships. Partnerships and collaboration is a big glue for what you do. Again, yesterday was Sachin Tendulkar. Another recent one was being the Square Enix for Ludo Zenith. And, we are seeing growing synergies in the gaming industry of lately. What do you think have been the drivers for such investments and mergers and acquisitions in this space?
Thanks, Anurag, and pleasure to be here with you. Thanks for having me over. And I think what you started out with is really defining what the future of gaming is from an India perspective. And your question about how does one really look at a strong foothold in gaming really comes from the fact that for us, it was very important at Jet Synthesis to create an India presence that would establish the emerging industry from this country as one which is strong, independent, very critical to the future of the world in gaming. And I think, involvement with people like Sachin Tendulkar, like you rightly said, or some of the larger studios, Square Enix, and many others that we have partnered with, and we are in the process of strengthening our partnerships with, are indicative of the fact that India is really, where the future lies, right? I mean, if you look at 17% of the downloads of games really happened in India on the Android and Google Play Store last year. So, I think there is clearly a market, for gaming and particularly for India. And I think this is what is really, getting a large part of the world excited about India. I think it's also that, tier 1, tier 2 markets, which are very deep monetizing markets, are beginning to not saturate, but, I think there is enough penetration and there is a limitation to what more or how much more it can grow, right? But when you look at India, we are like, barely 1% of the global gaming industry today. So the catch-up potential is massive. And I think that's really, Anurag, how, the world is looking. And these have been really, I would say, the drivers. So really being able to have a strong India understanding, of the gamers, being able to execute with India, bringing India talent into the fore, and then looking at the global potential of that, I think is really what is driving a lot of the investments in M&A, coming up today.
Yeah, and Rajan, again, as you said, we are 1% of the global gaming industry. We still have a long way to go, and we will get there with the kind of action in gaming, the investment focus, the consumers adopting gaming as mainstream, and the number of gamers growing, the amount of time they're spending on gaming, the headwinds in terms of data access, in terms of cheap devices, in terms of a truly digital India, and aspirations. And gaming, in some way, is at the cusp of competitiveness. It's on the cusp of community. It is on the cusp of collaborativeness. So it fulfills a lot of needs. But let me dive into the nuances of the gaming industry and ask you now, speaking, you talked about the investment, and if you take big giants like Netflix, especially in the subscription-based gaming domain, do you think there'll be a parallel gaming industry as we go along, and which will then become part of the inclusive gaming ecosystem? And you're an industry expert, you're an industry player. Do you believe the subscription-based models would have a good future going forward?
No, interesting question. See, gaming today, Anurag, already is, and if you take the entire media entertainment sector, much larger than, films and music put together. So in that sense, there is no, conversation, I would think, about, where gaming is headed in the future. And if you look at any global predictions, it's predicting that gaming itself will be a 315 or $320 billion industry, in the next 3 to 4 years. So the growth in gaming is going to happen, irrespective. Now, how much of the media and entertainment industry really comes in and participates, in this gaming ecosystem is really what, is probably being addressed through this, through the Netflix announcement. Because at the end of the day, if we see during the pandemic, especially, content creation in many of the other media entertainment sectors, live entertainment, all actually suffered setbacks, right? At a time when the growth in gaming has been very, very significant. So I think it's pretty natural to find other adjacent media entertainment companies and entities looking at gaming as a option to consolidate and grow their presence in that industry. But having said that, it is going to be a challenge, right? Like if we thought from gaming we were to move to something else, and kind of establish a presence there, there have to be nuances. There will be different sets of drivers that will make some of those things succeed. So in that sense, I think this will be one large gaming ecosystem, right? I don't think things are going to be divided parallelly. Gaming is going to be integral to media and entertainment in the future, actually more integral than what it is even today. And if we look at streaming and broadcast and now engagement of people with esports and so many other ways which bring streaming also and content watching at the forefront, there is no question in my mind that this will all kind of work together as an integrated ecosystem. On the subscription question, it's interesting. So if we look at subscription even within gaming today, right, or even within specific games, we've been able to drive subscription in our cricket games, for example, right? Where we have loyal customers who are paying a lot more month on month because they're enjoying the experience not only of watching but participating and shaping the future of where they will be in the game in the years to come. So I think a subscription to being part of a game is significantly different to subscribing to a platform which is more for consumption. So I think subscription itself will have multiple flavors. In the earlier days, subscription used to be to a pool and access of games passed through the telecom business, which of course has died because the quality of experiences couldn't be the same. So it will be interesting as to how full subscription models of entertainment will look at gaming and try and bring their learnings into monetization for gaming. So I think whatever happens either way, it's only going to expand the market, and just make it, a lot more valuable for everybody who's already in the industry as we move forward. So interesting times.
If you notice, we called the theme of the summit is the decade of gaming. We believe at BW Business World, the fact that we launched BW Gaming World as a separate community, and we focused editorially a lot on this, is we believe it will be a very important sector of the economy, and we've spotted many sectors earlier. So now I want to ask you, we already talked about access being cheap, device price being low, change of lifestyle, rising aspiration, spending more time in home and on screens. We all have become screenagers. We may not be teenagers. So it augurs well for the gaming industry. What do you believe would be the top three things that will happen in the gaming industry over the next 2-3 years for it to become the decade of gaming?
So, I think a lot of things have already happened, right? And we've seen the triggers, for that, all the things that you mentioned. is already, taking that shift and making it happen. I think the key driver of this big, change is going to be the Gen Z population. Right? They are digital natives. They are not adopters, or they will have to transition into something. I mean, when I look at my 12-year-old nephew who plays Call of Duty, I mean, he is digitally into the game, or we see so many people who come and reach out to us, especially, we want to become like Sachin Tendulkar, whether it is, in our game experiences, because in that, we allow you to role play Sachin in 100 of his best innings. So with the VR experience, you walk into a stadium, you have the Sachin chant, that kind of a thrill and experience, you're not going to be able to, experience anywhere. So to me, it's not only going to be one of three or whatever. It's going to be the coming together, of the right technologies, right? And there are so many, right from personalization to AI, or immersive experiences like what I said through VR and extended reality. But I think the one core technology that's going to shape and change gaming significantly is, this whole 5G wave, right? Because whether it's cloud gaming, it's multi-platform gaming, is the ability to create very real lifelike experiences, at the same time. I think these are all going to contribute to how gaming will be established, as in the decade that is ahead. So if you look at technology, you then look at Gen Z as, I think, a key driver of the audiences that are probably going to make that happen. And of course, in terms of content, right, I think there's just so much that's going to happen. And if we take gaming and gamification to the next level, where we look at the outcomes from gaming, take education for example, or you take being able to create live experiences, near live experiences digitally that feel, the extended world is far deeper and greater than the world you live in, and people will spend more time in that world than in the real world. I mean, we are seeing that today. All of us are in front of a screen, for so many hours in a day. Sometimes you wonder, do you even know what's happening around you, right? Because that touch feel of people and all. So which is the world that one is immersed in, is so I think all of these factors that are coming together, and driven and, tremendously accelerated, by the pandemic, are actually going to shape, the future of this coming decade. And as I said, I am very confident that India will be pretty much at the center of a lot of the growth action, particularly given where we are today.
Thank you so much, Rajan. And clearly, apart, my 13-year-old son, if I call him and if he's immersed in his gaming, I know right now is not the time to talk to him, because he is fully immersed. And, I have experienced that firsthand. So not only boys or men, but 4.84% women, almost 5% women, according to a report, want to pursue a serious career in gaming. Since you're an active speaker, evangelist, and also you've spoken in the past about bringing more women into gaming, creating more employment opportunities for girls and women in gaming, how much do you think would such plan actually materialize in increasing the number of women in gaming? And do you think sometimes some people refer to gaming as a man's world? How do you plan to change that?
It's interesting we say that, because it's at the end of the day, it's the content that is created, right? Ultimately, one can say, if you take any industry, take the movie industry, right? If you say this is content created for specific audiences, right, it will appeal to certain types of audiences, and I think it's just natural that over the decades that gaming has been popular around the world, it has been shaped strongly by male audiences, till some of the casual or some of the different types of gaming genres, came out that appealed to women. So one is creating content that is of choice for women gamers, and I can tell you one thing, that in many cases, increasingly as we move forward, even that is not going to be a deterrent, right? And we are seeing that in many of our competitive esports games and tournaments, that we organize. We co-founded Nodwin Gaming, with a 50% equity 5 years ago. And I can tell you that if you looked at the esports players, in India at that time, there were absolutely no females, right? But over the years, we've seen an increase, and today, we are seeing a tremendous growth even in the esports players, as we continue to, of course, not only now largest in India, but as we continue to grow and deepen our engagement globally, through Nodwin. So, we are seeing the ability for women to really go out and, achieve professions in gaming and sport. And I think that's also going to be, a big trigger. And, look at our colleges, right? At the end of the day, half of college students are female. Many of them are getting an education to really go out there and be able to, engage, create, their own livelihoods, for example. So I am very confident that, the growth in women, not only opting for gaming as a career in our companies, where we are doing game development, be it the creative side, be it technology, be it marketing or product, we have pretty much equal women force to the male force, right? And as I said, we are seeing that workforce increasing. So as women get engaged, both from a career perspective as well as from a gamer perspective, the content maturity moves to those specific audiences, and the general trend of really bringing together the multiple genres of gaming, right, from hyper casual to mid-core to professional esports. There are many places where women can get engaged, and I'm optimistic that this number will grow significantly in the years to come.
Let me move into, again, content. You talked about content and the kind of game. Now, when it comes to the global domain, we do not produce enough Indian content, nor is Indian formats and content very popular overseas. I mean, we are not taking our content to the world, not in the way we'd like to. And gaming is very culturally nuanced. It's very cultural sensitive. How do you plan to create more and more content out of India? And do you think in India, gaming will become so mainstream and we'll have so many content creators that we can cater to the world? Do you see that happening?
So, I think it's the maturity of the industry, Anurag. India consumes games which are made by the world, so the audiences or the gamers are at a maturity level, as it is in many other parts of the world, right? It's only that the number of, gamers who really pay for gaming, whether it is in-app purchases and others, compared to how much they would pay in a country like India, which is based, more on the position of where we are as a country when it comes to per capita GDP, etc. Right, and we've seen that change happen in China. As countries progress economically, all industries, including gaming, will definitely be a strong beneficiary, of that particular, pie. But the key is that, I think in India, what has happened is that, the talent pool that we have, right? We have got good engineering talent. We have, whether it comes to creative, art, product design. Do we really have the experience of building games into which, several $100 million are invested, and the outcomes of those, are also proportionate to the kind of investments that are made in gaming? Now, that kind of a gaming, kind of an ecosystem in terms of development, is really where the growth opportunity for India is. Like today, we hire talent, from around the world, because even to give ourselves a shot to be able to create something like that, I mean, a fluke chance can happen anywhere, right? Anybody can create a fluke chance, right? And gaming is one such area, like, the entertainment industry. You can get a great movie hit, once in a while, right? But if you want to structure it, you want to have a process methodology, and especially looking at how much technology is now going into gaming when it comes to, whether it's personalization or even growing so many aspects of that particular experience for the consumer, it is only imperative that, it's the best of talent that can enable you to give yourself a shot to create, the next global hit or the next game that everybody would want to play. I think India will get there, and the support talent is here. It's pretty interesting because have been part of the government initiatives, through India at 75 and many others where, particularly for the Modi government, we said if $1 trillion of the $5 trillion economy in 2030 is going to come from new age businesses, right? What's going to drive that, right? Where is the talent pool coming? So if you look at our IT engineering straight, right, we have about 130,000, 150,000 who go into the services industry, every year. And of course, that will continue to grow, 4-5 million, people engaged in that. But the potential of India is much larger, right? So can that talent, similarly on the creative side and many others, get into areas which are more linked to product development, like what you rightly said, having high aspirations of going out to the world and capturing global markets with our products. I think these are all the things and aspects that we will, probably see happening from here on. So it's again, I would just like to say that it's going to happen. When we are all waiting to see, and we definitely at Jet Synthesis are going all out to try and see how we can at least give ourselves a shot in that direction.
Thank you, Rajan. My last question before I let you go. I keep saying we live in a 3C economy: collaborative, contactless, and compassionate economy. If you had to make one or two predictions about the future, and you rightly said gaming is at the intersection of many industries. I mean, look at how it is transforming learning and education. One of the sectors that is getting transformed from gaming is healthcare, well-being. So give us some futuristic trends about sectors that have not yet seen mainstream traction. We'd love your view on that.
Yeah, no, sure. First and foremost, to the question that you started with, Anurag, I think gaming getting into the midst of the media and entertainment industry, right, as a key thing, or the other way around, right? So we are seeing now music concerts happening in games, right? Because games build communities around certain themes, certain subjects, certain areas of interest, right? Today at Jet Synthesis, for example, what you just said is the foundation building block of our company. Jet Synthesis started with, a view of how do we play a role in the daily digital life of 1.3 billion Indians and, take that, to the rest of the world, because in India's frugal innovation, India's all of that. We have a mindfulness community, right, which is India's leading community through ThinkRight, .me, which is not a game. It's a real world app. It transforms your life. It changes the way you think, to be able to be more effective in your real world, right? We have a fintech community where we cater to new age borrowers and the ways that they would like to engage with borrowing, right? We have a job community, a new age job seeker community, which is now UK's #1 platform, right? So we have actually built these communities outside of gaming with the core idea that eventually the gaming communities and these digital communities that we build, right, will create that overlap, right? So what happens is, if you look at healthcare, for example, games that will engage skills, capabilities, the ability, and sometimes even the characteristics that are required, to be able to be a part of that healthcare ecosystem, right, could be the drivers of healthcare communities and engagement in many, many different ways, right? Today, we are seeing gamification actually cut across pretty much every sector, as I mentioned earlier. And if I were to take a bet, is gamification going to be sitting in the middle of education? Is it going to be sitting in the middle of healthcare? Is it going to play a key role in agriculture? It already is. And I can, of course, we don't have time, but I can go on and give you, tons of examples of simple gaming and gamification approaches within which engaged communities get built that lead to better outcomes in each of those sectors. And I therefore believe that, the unlocking of the potential of gaming beyond the way we are seeing it today, and we have been discussing for this past half hour, is even more exciting and promising. And maybe 3 years from today, Anurag, we will be talking of gaming so generically is a part of a health initiative that you come up with, because it will be integral to all of these industries, and that's what makes this so much more exciting, and therefore a key driver of as we say, of the economy and the global economy as India integrates deeper into the rest of the world for the future. Nothing beats a country that has hundreds of millions of Gen Z and millennial, waiting to go out there with their passion and conquer the world. So again, we are privileged to be in India at this point in time, and look forward to seeing how we can tap this big opportunity that lies ahead of us.
Thank you so much, Rajan. This was Rajan Nawani, the Vice Chairman and Managing Director of Jet Synthesis. He's built a large gaming business, and around that built many communities that serve specific niches. Communities are about collaborative interest, and they are about conversations, and they are also about commerce. So all that is happening. Thank you, Rajan, for talking to BW Gaming World and BW Business World. We wish Jet Synthesis and what you do and the Indian gaming industry all the best. And we know with players like you, the next decade would be a decade of gaming. Thank you so much.